How is everybody? You guys hear me okay? Dan is out sick today, so I will be having to also serve as bouncer, keep my eye on the waiting room here. Let's give folks a few more minutes to come in. Beautiful Monday morning here in North Carolina. Took the kids fishing yesterday afternoon, very productive. Caught actually a bunch of little brim, little fish. There's a little pond in our neighborhood. We caught them in the Jordan Lake. Turned them loose here locally, so maybe we'll get a chance to catch them again. We had a lot of fun. It's my littlest one, Noelle. It was a big milestone in her fishing career because usually, I throw out the rod for her and get it and I hook the fish and hand it to her. But now she doesn't want to do that. She's casting the rod on her own. She's doing everything. She's not taking the fish off the hook yet. We're not quite there. But my responsibilities is to help bring fish in the boat are going down as hers are going up. So that's kind of fun. All right. Some more folks coming into the waiting room here. While we're waiting, so our topic today, I'm already recording. Yeah, so our topic today is going to be about the differences in markets and market segments. And there's more here than is apparent. In one sense, you might say, well, is that really that important a distinction, market segments? First of all, yes, it is important. But also it helps us to understand the importance of precision in language. Because so a lot of what we're doing today, in one sense, it might not be the most exciting presentation you've ever seen. In fact, I'm going to be walking through an article we have on this exact topic. So after we wrap up, you'll have the link. You can go and you can read the same article again. But it helps us to understand, again, the importance in precision when we talk about a market. We talk about a market segment. If we're very loosey-goosey with these words, then we can't communicate with each other. And when it comes time to to do your blueprinting project, to investigate a market or to go deeper and to understand the segments within that market, what does that mean? And this, we're using like a jobs to be done based view of the world, right? A customer hires a product to accomplish a job. And then from there, the outcomes, these are the criteria they use just to evaluate how products and how well that job is done. And so if we're not clear on what a market is, then it makes this whole process very difficult. Okay. So let me see if I can press a few buttons without hurting myself. And I apologize in advance because I'm gonna have to keep an eye, because Dan's not here. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on the waiting room there. Let me share my screen. Yep. Hopefully everybody can see this okay. And get this where I can see. Hopefully, if anybody, I don't want anybody to be stuck in the waiting room there. I don't think the green room food is necessarily that great. All right. So this is an article of ours. It's one of our more popular articles on market segmentation. Bring on the magic. So first of all, don't we believe that market segmentation is already understood? Well, part of the confusion is we use this word segmentation to mean a lot of things, right? There's product. We think about a certain product we sell. That's a segment. We refer to it as one. We might refer to a demographic as a segment, this age of people, or if in B2B, we might refer to as a firmographic, so distributors and this type of thing. But we use the word very loosely in lots of different contexts. So what we're talking about today in market segmentation, we're not using it loosely. We're going to get very precise in the definitions of two words, really two phrases: markets and market segmentation. And from there, we're going to talk about why it's important and how it absolutely directly leads into new product development, as far as what are the new features going to be, what are the new products going to be, how you communicate to customers. So market segmentation at its highest level, okay, it's about dividing a market into smaller bits. And so this is what I was referring to. We often do this by product geography, customer type, all sorts of things. But the problem is, again, that leaves lots of ambiguity. And that's something we really can't tolerate. And so what I'm going to suggest is that from using a jobs to be done view of the world, a market. So before we define a market segment, let's define a market. A market has two components, a job and a job executor. Now that's using language from jobs to be done philosophy, but you can think about it this way. The job is what somebody's trying to accomplish. That's the purpose. That's their objective. That's their goal. Okay. Job executor, that just means it's a person. There's somebody trying to accomplish this job. And so the other component would be the how, right? The how is the product. So we're going to stay away from that. So it's a certain type of people, right? Job executors, and it's what they seek to accomplish. All right. Let's use some examples to make this more relevant. And I like to use examples from my background, as I suppose all of us do. I was with John Deere for quite a while. And so let's imagine that the task we're studying is this task of mowing the lawn. Okay, mowing the lawn. And then we're going to, for our customer group, job executors, we're going to select the residential homeowner. So as opposed to a university that mows their grass, as opposed to a commercial outfit that mows lawns as a service. Okay, so now we have defined our market. We have our job, mow the lawn. We have our job executor, residential homeowners. This is our market. Residential homeowners who mow the lawn. Okay. Now from there, excuse me, we do our discovery interviews, right? Our point of discovery interviews is to uncover a large set of needs, outcomes. So this might be what we uncover. Minimize the frequency of visible clumps on the lawn, minimize the likelihood of killing the grass due to cutting it too short, minimize the time to mow the lawn, minimize the likelihood of running over items or damaging your equipment, sticks, rocks, etc. Now, we can certainly begin with this thought of, well, certainly all residential homeowners want to mow their lawn well. But the challenge is, this difference of well means to do something better. Well, that could change based on their individual priorities. And this gets to the heart of what a market segment is. We're going to come back to that little image there in a second. So a market segment, what they actually have in common is this common priority order of outcome statements. Now the market, everybody in that market will share the same list of outcomes. So everybody in this group of residential folks who are mowing the lawn, all of them will have the outcome of minimize the time to mow the lawn. All of them will have this outcome of minimize the number of clumps on the lawn. All of them in the market will have this outcome for, minimize the individual strands that are left uncut. All of them. But the market segments within, some of those will be important for one segment, some will be important, some not so important. For different segment, different ones will be more important and different ones will be less important. Now, if we just build a product for the market, well, we're shooting at this too high level of a target because they have all these different priorities. So let me keep continuing here with an example that I think helps bring this to light. Imagine for one of these groups of our homeowners, these are the most significant, most important, least satisfied. They want to minimize the frequency of clumps on the lawn, and they want to minimize the variance around the grass length. So the theme that emerges is it's all about appearance. Everything about this particular segment, they want the lawn to look beautiful. We probably all have these folks in our neighborhood. You would not find this in my lawn, but they take a lot of time in gardening and weeding and they're always applying some chemical. And, they've got little scissors and they're out, cutting the hedges and, they're out working there a lot. So for this group, it's like they're creating this art, this wonderful, beautiful vision of what they want their lawn to be. So that would be one group. But imagine there's another group, a segment, that has some different priorities. Their most significant ones are they want to just do the thing faster. They just want to get it finished. They want to minimize the time to mow the lawn. And after they mow it, they do not want any extra trimming to do after. It's all about time. It's all about just getting the job done quickly so they can go on and do something else. Now think about how different those priorities are. Group one is all about the appearance, making this beautiful lawn. Group two is all about just getting it done quickly. The first group, it's art, right? It's something they enjoy. So by virtue of enjoying it, they're clearly not going to be in such a hurry to finish. The second group, it's a chore, a completely different way of looking at it. It's all about time getting it done faster. So for the group that wants to get it done faster, here's where I have this image. There's other things they want to do with their day. On their Saturday or Sunday afternoon, they want to get the yard just finished so they can do other things. But looking at my other image, the folks that are much more concerned with the appearance of the yard, they're more like artists. It's more about creating something beautiful. So again, but what do they have in common? They all want to do the job somewhat fast. They all want to do it faster. They all want to minimize the time to mow the lawn. Both groups want to minimize the grass clumps on the lawn. They both want to do those things. That's why they are in the same market. They're all homeowners mowing the lawn. But because they're in the same market does not mean they have the same priorities. In fact, they have different priorities. Now, I'd like to show you how we might uncover that within the Blueprinter software. But anybody has a question, feel free to stop me. Now, imagine in the Blueprinter software, we have this exact scenario. And when we look at the importance and satisfaction side by side, this is what we see. And let me take a moment to re-explain this data. So we have the importance scores here on this side, and each one of these rows represents one of the outcome statements. So how important on this side, and the satisfaction is on the right. Importance on the left, satisfaction on the right. And these, by today, the default is that these are an increasing level of performance, of importance. So it's not a coincidence these means keep going to the right. And so then the satisfactions are sort of all over the board. Now, the width of one of these bars is one standard deviation. Between the end and the mean. That's the mean, the average. That's one standard deviation. So the width of these is actually 2 standard deviations, which means if we did this work with our market and we see these wide bands, look, when we did the initial work, we might have said, you know what, maybe all homeowners mowing the lawn, maybe they're a segment. That is to say, maybe they have the same priorities. But when we look at this data, this tells us something's off. They don't have the same priorities. We see a lot of variation in the data. And you can see we give you a little, within the software, I should say, gives you some feedback whether these dark bars. Where you see those dark bars, that tells you there's excessive variation. And that what excessive variation means is that we cannot trust the average. We cannot trust the average. So if we were to, so backing up to sort of I've already told you what's beneath the data, but before we go in, just think what nonsense data you would get if you took the group of people that really are interested in a beautiful lawn and it's all about artistry, it's totally enjoying it, and you average those with folks who just want to do it quickly. The result is nonsense. The average is going to be nonsense, because they're just too different. And so when we're looking at the data here, it tells us that. It tells us there's too much variation. But you can see in the tabs right there, we've also pulled out, we've been able to pull out 2 groups. One called the fast mowers for, I think, reasons that are obvious. And the other one is lawn appearance. We also, another way we could have called this is, this group is it's a chore, in this group, it's they enjoy mowing the lawn. So if we were to click on these additional tabs, so now we're looking at the fast mower groups, and look how, first of all, look at how our standard deviations shrank, much tighter, right? We don't have any of those warning bars, telling us we can trust the means, we can trust the averages. As a side note, you probably all are certainly very aware that new product blueprinting is it's optimized for B2B, innovation. And there's some places, there's lots of things that we do that would be the exact same for B2C. But one and unique challenge with B2B is we need to prioritize often with small samples. Like you're not going to send a survey to 100 people, right? You're going to do preference interviews with a small number. So we need to know even with that small number, what kind of data do we have? Is it good enough? Well, that's what this helps us to know. Because even with a very small sample, if we have high alignment, small variation, then we know we can trust the averages. And so here with the whole market, we can't trust it, but with this subset of fast mowers, they're narrower, we can trust the market. And we look at these top two, the amount of trimming time remaining and the mowing time. These are the most important. Which is why this was called the fast mower. Now this is all made up information, by the way. Look at the one this group cared about the least, the variance after they mow the lawn. It's not important at all. It's a 2, and yeah, they're super satisfied with it. They want the job done. If they finish it and some grass strands are higher than the other, they don't care. All they care about is getting the thing done quickly, and it shows in the data. Now, maybe if we select the lawn appearance, then we're going to get a completely different look. Now, look, mowing time just dropped all the way to the bottom, but that doesn't mean it's 0. It doesn't mean, importance didn't go to 0. It's not that important, but it's still on the board. It's still one of the things they would certainly love to have a beautiful lawn and also still do it faster. There's nothing to say they wouldn't still like to accomplish that. Similarly, with our fast mowers group, they're not opposed to a beautiful lawn. They're not opposed to having less clumps. They're not opposed to a lawn that's perfectly flat with no variation. They would love that. It's just not as important as doing it quickly. So here's the thing that gets tricky, right? They have the same outcomes, but they're different priorities. Market has the same outcomes. Segments have different priorities. If it seems like I'm a bit repetitive on that, I'm going to continue to be. That really is our main point for today. But also, hopefully, you'll see where with Blueprinter software we can do this analysis right there in the software. So you don't have to be you don't have to have a background in statistics. All you have to do is look at it. Are these bars too wide? Do you see the dark areas? You have too much variation. You got to look within. You don't have to know, you don't have to worry about confidence intervals, or we can just leave all that behind. Now, so again, just a graphic to help illustrate that. The market has all the needs are the same, all the outcomes are the same, but the priorities are different. Now, once we have this information, it's like, so what? How does this make us any better off than before? Well, we could have a whole nother long time about what to do about it, but for the most part, we're going to think about 3 main ways we're going to use this information. The first is about winning new products, but also about our operations strategy. And in this case, operations meaning, what's our manufacturing strategy? Are we going to build 1 lawnmower and go after all of these? Are we going to build 2 lawnmowers? Are we going to build how are we going to do that? And then finally, how are we going to communicate with customers? So let's look at how we might do this in a couple ways. So first of all, for winning new products, we know for our fast mower segment, when we go to generate ideas or when we go to evaluate, if we look at the product ideas that are already in our funnel, are there some of these that are targeting this benefit now? Or do we have things in there already that, hey, this helps somebody to mow the lawn faster? Or do we have some features in there that also might help them to have a more attractive lawn? So we can look at our current funnel, or if we have separate idea generation sessions. By the way, that's something much more commonly done in BSC as a anecdotal comment, to actually hire a facilitator and conduct and to generate ideas. But anyway, whenever you do that, you can imagine a very focused session on one, how do we mow the lawn faster, and one, how do we have a more beautiful lawn. And by the way, the definitions for fast mowing and for a beautiful lawn, we've defined those already. Where did we define those? What's back with those outcome statements, right? For lawn appearance, it's about less clumps, etc. It's already defined. Okay, so I wanted to go down. This is one of the things I think is most interesting when we get to think about the manufacturing strategy or operations strategy, because that's where the rubber really meets the road. We're sitting there with our teams of engineers and project manager and the product manager, and it's like, all right, do we make this mower? We're looking at this trade-off on the mower deck. Do we have a blade that is gonna, sort of mangle the grass but go faster, or are we gonna have one that's very sharp and might not be as fast but cuts it more cleanly, right? We get into these arguments internally. Well, one solution would be you literally develop two separate products, like completely separate. So you have two engineering teams. One engineering team, your design, build the mower that mows the lawn the fastest. Just go do it. We're not putting any constraints on you. And you go to the other team and you say, we want you to take your mower and just mow the most beautiful lawn possible, right? I don't want any streaks. I don't want any clumps. I don't want any of that. And you take those potential trade-offs and you don't even have to make the trade-offs. You just do completely two separate solutions. Now, this will do the best job at addressing all those needs. I mean, addressing those priorities for each group. I mean, you can imagine those could be great products, well received. The advertising will write itself, right? For the fast mower, you can just imagine what you would say. Just stop wasting your time mowing your lawn. Buy this turbo mower. And then for the one that's all about the beautiful lawn is the opposite. You would really appeal to their sense of artistry and look at this beautiful lawn. And so the advertising and promotion, it basically writes itself. Now, of course, those are the positives of it. The negatives are it's much more expensive, right? You've got two engineering teams. You're going to create lots of different parts the parts you can't take one part off of this mower and put it onto the other. All these unique parts. So you're going to increase to support this approach. You're going to increase your costs of not just parts, and not just investment of your engineering teams, but everything. Your distributors. Now they have to stock a couple of different tractors. Somebody's going to have cost on their books from more inventory. So it's the most expensive to maintain, but certainly be the most effective to go after. Now, what's the opposite end of that is we say, you know what, we're not going to do that. We have these two segments. We're going after them with one product. Now here, in this case, we put our product managers and engineers in an unfortunate position because now they have to fight out they have to argue because there will come up times when you have to sacrifice one for the other. And so they just have to have those discussions. And it also, things are a bit more muddled when it comes time to sell this mower. What is its really greatest benefit? But the biggest concern with this, but of course this is the cheapest, right? You've got one team, you got one tractor on the shelf, so to speak. You've got all these, all the parts are common because it's only one. So it's very inexpensive to support and maintain and to forecast. But if nobody wants it, then none of that really mattered, did it? The thing you want to be really careful of when doing this is to not, right here, don't take those priorities and average them, right? Because the average scores are typically going to be they're going to be meaningless. What you would want to do if you're really just going to build one product, try to find things that are common commonly important and common in low satisfaction as best you can. Now, so those are two extremes, two separate products, and you just really go after it, the market, or one product, and you kind of do the best. In practice, there's a third option that's really what is most often preferred. In this case, you take a core, the platform strategy. And this is a PDMA, Product Development Management Association. This is their definition. But with a platform strategy, you select a core platform that will be the common architecture that's the base for multiple models. So in this example, the engine probably doesn't have to be a special engine, to be either for a beautiful lawn or to mow more quickly. The transmission probably doesn't have to be that unique, but maybe the mower deck and maybe some other controls would be. So you define this common architecture, define what's common between them, and then you're able to develop a couple variations, a couple derivative products based upon the platform that target each of those segments. And that way you're able you can still go to market and have this tractor A that, goes after this segment. This tractor B, tractor A goes after, the beautiful lawn. Tractor B goes after the faster. The customers don't need to know they have a common engine. The customers don't need to know that they have common tires or common whatever it is. It's similar to what automotive does, right? They have a chassis and then they have multiple products built on top of it. So in practice, usually this third option is really what you want to do. But the point of all of this is that we can't do any of this if we don't have good data to tell us what these segments are and what their priorities are, which is why in sequence, what we want to do, define the market which in this case is, it's a job and a job executor. It's a task they want to accomplish, mow the lawn, and job executors. In this case, homeowners. That's our market. And then within that market, we have this long list of all their outcomes. But that's not to say that list is equally important to them all. So from there, we do your preference interviews, understand how the priorities are different, and get your segments. And from there, you have something very actionable for a manufacturing strategy. And then, I mentioned the communication strategy, but the communication strategy is quite simple, right? For the group, well, it's simple. It's simple if you've done all that work I referred to. For your fast mower segment, have you ever had these meetings with your promotional folks and marketing and advertising, and you're trying to go over A folders and advertising and what things should look like? Well, those conversations can get sort of confusing because somebody has, you're looking over flyers and web designs, and the reason it's confusing is you don't have clarity on these top priorities. In product management, if you've done a great blueprinting project and this is your output, this is the message you want to communicate to your customers. Minimize the time to mow the lawn and minimize the amount of trimming to do afterwards. Now, it's the advertising and promotional folks, it's their job now, how do you communicate that? And just for a television commercial, you can imagine, you've got a split screen and there's the competition's mower going real slow and there's yours like going real fast, and then you show, the competition, they're still mowing the lawn and they're wiping their forehead, and your fast mowing segment, they're sitting back, drinking lemonade or other beverage, enjoying their lives, right? So the outcomes tell you what to communicate. But then it's the job of marketing, promotion, advertising as to how it's communicated. But once we have these outcomes, you have some objective measure over, how to do that. Okay. And so for the lawn appearance, you can imagine the same. If you're targeting the lawn appearance, you would have, again, I don't know why the split screen occurs to me, but you could have that, and you could have your mower creating this beautiful lawn, and you could have your competitors, and you could show clumps of grass and whatever everywhere. So the advertising really does write itself. Well, those are our main points. So just to review, and then we'll see if we have any questions and just comments in general. A market is composed of a job, which is the thing they want to accomplish. In this case, mow the lawn, and a group of people. I use the term job executors. It's just jobs to be done in language. You can just think of people who want to accomplish a job, or people who want to accomplish a task or an objective, if you prefer. And then within that, the market segments will have a common list of priorities. All right. And with that, I will stop sharing just for a moment, just so I can see you again. There you are. And any questions about that? And again, it's it's one of the big things with just jobs to be done in general. It's about a real priority on precision in our language, precision in what a market is, precision in what a customer need is, an outcome, precision in what a market segment is, so that when we can use these terms, here's where the rubber meets the road, and why one reason, there's a lot of reasons why it's important. I shared a few. But at the beginning of each, good strategy is really just a series of projects, studying a market, uncovering the opportunities, acting on it, studying a market, uncovering the opportunities, acting on it, studying a market, uncovering the opportunities, and acting on it, which means we're constantly meeting with colleagues. We're constantly leveraging the strategic plan. We're constantly looking at what's in our portfolio. And as we're doing this, we're connecting our brains in an attempt to, which market are we going to select? Which market are we going to select? Which market are we going to select? And after we study those, which segments are we going to target? Which segments are we going to target? Which segments are we going to target? And within those, how we act upon those. And I gave a few examples of how that's meaningful, with product development and communication. But if we're using these words and we have different meanings, it gets very confusing very fast, and we're not gonna do so well. Are any questions about blueprinting anything?
Yeah, Scott, I have a question. It's Meredith Gregory.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Just fine.
Great. So with this in mind, am I correct to assume that you all still recommend, as you're going through and planning out and doing your blueprinter project, to, once you've identified a market, to still segment it initially, but then once you get down the road and you have your data from the preference interviews, at that point, if you see some of these, darker blue lines in your data, that should just trigger you to say, okay, we need to segment further from what we've already done. Is that correct?
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm so glad you mentioned that. That's a perfect point I should have made. Because when we're doing that step one, we're making an attempt to select a segment from the beginning. Like we're trying to. We think this group has common priorities. So it's just sort of a hypothesis. It's our best idea at the time. And hopefully they're tight and we were correct.
Right.
But yeah, so we're using sort of firmographic and other. We think this group will be in common, so we're trying to do that up front. So I should have mentioned that. Thank you for doing so.
No, that's all right. Thanks.
All right. Well, if anybody else has any questions, feel free. In the meantime, I'll give you a few more minutes while we take a peek at what's coming up for next time. And if no more questions, and we'll declare victory. So this was today, understanding the difference in markets and market segments. Next time you'll have Mr. Dan Adams back up on the mic for how do we select our major initiatives. And you might be on the right track if you notice will have something to do with understanding and meeting customer needs. We've got that coming up in just under a month. We'll be right in the middle of summer there, getting our vitamin D levels up and whatnot. So if any more questions by anybody or good thoughts for this Monday? If not, well, thank you so much. And we will see you next time. Take care.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.